So how can you incorporate these learning activities, or incorporate any learning activities into an induction that draw upon these various styles that you've identified?
Okay, so I suppose to go back to a little bit, take a step back from the question and think a little bit about the purpose of induction. I think sometimes organisations miss the point and see it as really pushing people to take in an awful lot of information and bombarding people with a lot of information, and it tends not to be a learning event because of that. So one of the things that I would try to do is try to think about, well, what really is the purpose? It's about getting people to understand this is our culture, this is how we do things, this is how we treat people, this is how we learn. So you want all of those different messages to be coming across, and it's also a real opportunity to build relationships, I think. So an example of how I've tried to incorporate all of the different styles into one exercise was an induction I designed a few years ago, and it was really around the business model of the organisation. So there were 4 different aspects to that business model. So challenged each group to, in a bit of a competition really, rather than write about what that might mean, to draw what that might mean. So gets people thinking in a very different way, and I think that can even get some creativity flowing within the room. So the reason I suppose I designed that exercise in the way that I designed it was it does allow the activists to get very active very quickly. It's great for the pragmatists because they see the practical reality of what this model will mean on a day-to-day basis. I think as well for the reflectors there's time to step back and to think and to think about what this might really mean. And also for the theorists, I suppose there is that whole context of the wider organisation and what it's about. So it hits all of the different areas, I think, and it incorporates all of the different learning styles. And I do think that any training or learning event has to, in some way, try to incorporate all of the various styles, because I think even within us we use them all at different times and probably favour one at a particular time over another. So I think really, really useful from that perspective. But I think as well it allows those people within the groups to really build relationships, and I think that's really what organisations are about now, getting people to collaborate and work together. And I think people have often mentioned to me after induction, I always remember the person that I met at induction, even though they worked in a whole different area, that relationship stays strong. So I think, you know, those relationships can be very important, and those little experiences that people have in induction can be very important as well. So I suppose it's meeting all of the objectives in my mind. So hopefully that's a good example.